maybe it seemed like a deep dark night, but follow me outside into the
Welcome to Wild Rose Moon's Moonlight, episode number 2. Brought to you by Gibson Insurance and the Gibson Foundation, Marshall County Community Foundation, and the Marshall County Tourism. Tonight's guest is Tom Fry, coming from Walkerton. It's our host, John Baylor.
Thank you for joining us for Moonlight. We got Tom Fry sitting over here.
Hi, John.
Howdy. Holding a really nice looking guitar. And Tom Fry just mostly just playing music just for the fun of it. Doesn't have a lot of ambitions to do a whole lot with it. But when he gets a hobby, he just digs in and has really put a lot of work into mastering this instrument.
I really have. I play every day, almost without failure. It really has just become a very encompassing hobby that I really get a heck of a lot of enjoyment out of.
I like to jump into the music pretty quickly, but I'll let you tell us what you're playing here. We introduced your instruments last time, but this is the one I really like.
This is an antique, well, not a truly antique. It's made to look like an antique resonator. These were developed by the Dopiera brothers and in California, which is now National Guitar. It's still a company that exists today. You can still buy these, and it's just a classic instrument, kind of jumping out of the 1920s and still being played today.
Well, we'll put it to work. You got a song for us?
I sure do. When I started learning the blues, I thought, gosh, the blues are about being sad and having terrible things happen to you. And I thought, gee whiz, I'm a pasty white guy. I have nothing wrong. What's my sad thing that's going to happen? What could I draw from? And then I started really searching for something that's wrong, and I kind of had a good idea. Muddy Waters sings some really fun songs, the Hoochie Coochie Man and I'm a Man and powerful songs, and I thought I'd play off of that riff with Bald Man. So here we go. some neglect. I'm so happy with my situation and plans. I'm so happy to be one bald man. There you go.
Well, thank you for sharing. Last time we had you on here, we talked about guitars and about other musicians and styles that had influenced you. I want to get into a little bit more of your work in writing songs. When you're writing blues music, especially more traditional blues music, then you've got some forms that are laid out for you pretty specifically. These are the chord changes that you go to. These are some of your options that you have for melody lines. But what's your take when you step into that genre and you've got an idea, like a humorous idea like this one or something a little more serious? Where how do you put your songs together?
It's a little bit of a fun game to take what can be done with a resonator. Resonators are, what I do with my resonator is in an open tuning. And so, like this particular guitar right now is set into open D. So it's a chord. I don't have to hold any strings down to play a chord, which is nice. So if this is a D, then I can automatically come up to the fifth and play a C and then a D and be right there in chords. And so it kind of gives you a little freedom to find a fun lick. Son House famously wrote Death Letter Blues, and it just has this killer little lick, just and I thought, geez, that's so fun. It'd be really neat to find a little lick of my own to do. That previous song was sort of a takeoff on a Willie Dixon, where I think when Muddy Waters did it, he did just such a tiny little variation, but it's really fun to mess around and find a little lick to build a song around. And then I build the lick, and then I start just writing poetry and for whatever comes out, and I try to make it a little interesting lyrically to find a place to go with it.
Give us some of your phrases that out of that last song.
So with Muddy Waters, he sang, on the day I was born, the gypsy woman told my mother, and it goes on from there. And so I thought, well, I don't know any gypsies, so I thought, well, my father would be talking to my mom on the day I was born, and he would have a prediction that I wouldn't be big. My dad's 5'7", and I wouldn't be tall, and my dad weighed 155 pounds his whole life, so he had some predictions there he could make about me. That so I thought, on the day I was born, my father told my mother. I thought it was a really cute idea.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else did I go with? And so I thought, geez, I'm bald. What am I lacking? I'm lacking good follicles. So I had no follicles on my head. My genetics forgot them. I thought, that's really clever, if I do say so myself.
And you mentioned building a lick. When you're playing your guitar part, again, you're working in a genre where you're taking pieces of things that people have done before. How much would you say your guitar playing is lifted out of other blues music, and how much of it is I wanted to do my thing on here?
It's always tied so far. I'm not a prolific writer, but when I wrote in the previous session, I wrote "I Lied to You," and that was based off of a chord scenario from Walking Blues, and also from a Muddy Waters song that's not coming to mind right now. But He sings about going down to the train yard to catch his wife who has left him. And yeah, there were a couple of songs that had similar licks. And so I wrote something in the same key and around the same area, but just twisted it to my own liking.
Yeah, right. And when you've got an idea for a song, when does that come upon you? Are you sitting with your guitar, just seeing what you come up with, or are you driving down the road and something strikes you?
Thank goodness for iPhones, because sometimes songs just come to me while I'm driving, and I'll be driving and don't talk to the police about this, right? So, but I'll hit my button and I'll say make recording, and my iPhone will pop up. Siri will talk back to me. Hi, Baldy. You want to make a recording? Sure. And, I'll sing a little song into it. Now, once, this was a one-time thing, I was asleep on a Saturday night, and I'm engaged, and I was dreaming about my fiance, and completely clean for the radio audience. But I was on a stage in my dream, and someone handed me a microphone, and a song came to me in my dream. I woke up out of the dream at 2 a.m. and ran over to my piano, and I picked out that song so it would stay in my head, and then wrote down the lyrics that I sang in the song. This is a true story. Wrote down the lyrics that I sang in the song, and then throughout the day I added to it and finished it off.
Wow.
What does your fiance think of the song?
Oh, she loves it. I sang it to her on Valentine's Day, not this previous one, but a year and a half ago.
I got another question for you. Does Siri really call you Baldy?
No, she does not. But that was
Okay,
a little embellishment on my
I didn't think
part.
she was that mean. But
I think Siri will call you what you want.
yeah.
Slap me around and call me Susan, Siri. But
Yeah. You also had said before we hit the record button, you've been working on your guitar playing a little bit. As a guitar player, what are some of the things that you struggle with that you're working to overcome?
When I switched to playing open tuning guitars, I was a little bit at a loss, and there were a few how-to books out there that I was looking at, and then I discovered a guy named Mike Dowling. You can go on YouTube and find him. He is a master open tuning player, and so I bought his. I don't know if I can give him an endorsement, but Bottleneck Blues and Beyond 1 and 2, and it has taught me so much about fingerings for open tunings and that sort of thing. Actually, my second song is sort of a Mike Dowling arrangement that I wrote lyrics to.
I guess that maybe this will be our last songwriting question that I'll have for you. But when you've got material like that, like the theory, a new musical idea, is that important for your songwriting, or is that just kind of handy to learn something new?
Oh, you know what? It just helps me build my knowledge about playing, and I've even as I learn step by step, sometimes I'll even take that and put it back into an old song that I've written in the past, and it'll add a little something to some of my old songs. It might give me a new turnaround, or it might give me a new lick that I can play with the chorus of the song. And so I just enjoy building the knowledge and to make songs better and better, because I think that's one of my main things, even though I'm a bit of a novice. When I see other songwriters, I can see them kind of have a lack of creativity in their writing and don't move enough around on their guitars to keep the song moving and make it interesting from section to section.
You'd also mention going all out or something like that, like playing. You played for your family, and
Yeah.
they said when you just go for it, that's when it sounds
Yeah,
compelling.
that is absolutely true. If you're not lost in the song, and if you're not playing all out, it tends to, people see it, people hear it. You know, I've noticed this. I'm a graphic designer, and but I'm also a musician. But the neat thing is, the general public has a great ear and they have great eyes on art. They might not know how to make art or how to play a guitar or how to draw or paint, but they have great eyes and they can come to you and tell you, you know, I can tell you're not going for it. I can tell you're not really playing your best. When you really go for it, you're amazing. And when you don't, not so much.
Yeah, like you gotta say it like you mean it, or nobody's gonna care.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. Even if you're sitting on your couch, I remember my guitar teacher complaining about a student of his, and he said this guy, he's learning to play guitar, but he doesn't do it until his children are asleep. And then he sits on the edge of his bed, and the children are in the next room, so he has to really play softly. And it really showed in his playing, and he's like, you got to stop that. You got to, like, find a way. Get those kids outside, get them playing tag, and then practice. And you can be as loud as you want, so you play out. I thought, that's kind of a bit of brilliance.
Oh, kids are good to play for, though. You get them moving around.
Unless they're two. I vividly remember my daughter Iris reaching across and trying to, I thought, oh, it would be really cute to let her touch my guitar. She grabbed all 6 strings and crunched like that. And I'm like, oh, let go. Then I'm peeling her little tiny fingers off of my strings.
My son's just over 1 year old, and if I get the guitar out and start playing at home, if it's out and he's not got his hands on it, he's not happy.
Right.
And he's like, he's such a happy kid, but when there's music, he's got to be
in it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a beautiful thing, though.
Yeah, right.
It's a funny little gap there to get him, you know, playing a pot or a pan or whatever, and making some beats with you.
Yeah, he plays a lot of blues harmonica too. Whenever he's upset and we don't know what to do, we just hand him. I
heard he sounds like Dylan
because he's always like he's always breathing in. I mean, he does both of them, but it's like, but he's just got this blues sound walking around the house on the harmonica.
Right. The shout about Dylan was I've heard harmonica players say they hated the way he played because he wasn't a single note, or he was more of a chord guy.
Right.
So he would play like 3 holes at once as opposed to single notes. And true harmonica guys are just like, that is just sacrilege. And I hated that guy did that.
Yeah.
He made harmonicas famous, but badly.
Yeah. Well, I want to jump over. Well, I know what you mean, and I hear people playing harmonica, and it's like, oh, there's that Bob Dylan sound that guy's got there. But I don't want to pick on Bob Dylan too much. So
no, he was also an icon that wrote amazing songs, and and quite the tactician and great guitarist too. Yeah. No, Bob, I love you. If you're out there listening, I'm sure you are. Love you.
I wanna get to one more song of yours, and this is a little different than the tunes that we've done before. We've had a lot of lighthearted, comedic sort of songs so far up to this point, and this one, we'll chat about it a little bit after you're done, but
okay.
Seems to have a very different mood hanging over it.
Yeah, this is a song that it just really kind of came out of my heart, and I'm not always a comedian. Sometimes I have other emotions, and this was a little song about my hometown, and it really warms my heart to think about it. Let's see. I started walking just to ease the strain, going back where I come from. I'm leaving this town, leaving for good.
I'm going back to where I first stood. Going back where I come from. I'm going back where the rivers flow. I'm going back to where the LHOIO. Going back to where I come from.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank
yeah,
you.
Nice.
I messed up
Good
one
melody
little
on that.
lyric in there when I was trying to say back to where they yell OHIO. It's a funny little thing about growing up in Ohio. At some point, you'll find yourself in an assembly, and they'll have older people come over to you and say, "Okay, this side of the audience, we're gonna yell OH, and we're gonna stand up, and everybody will raise their arms and make an O and an H, and the other side of the auditorium will stand up and go I-O." Really an endearing thing from Ohio.
I'm gonna read a couple of lyrics off of this. In addition to having a different mood than some of the other ones, this is also this isn't a problem with it or anything, but less clear. The meaning is kind of a little foggy in this one right here, which is something that I enjoy about it. But there's this sadness that's hanging over this. And it's not clear. You said it was about your hometown, but from reading the song, you don't know exactly. I mean, he's going back to where he came from, so you can kind of get that.
Yes.
You can kind of figure your way out to it, but the pain or the sorrow is not exactly clear. I got up this morning, rain on the window pane. I started walking to relieve the strain. We don't hear what the strain is. Well, I guess I'll hold on that one. There's another reference to crying, but I think I'll read that lyric a little later. And like I say, I think it's something I enjoy about this song. There's something a little mysterious. The fact that there's a question of what is it that's really eating at this guy adds an element of interest into it.
Yeah, I kind of, as a songwriter, I really do think it's good to be ethereal, or mysterious about it, so that anyone can listen to that song and take it and go, "Oh yeah, that's when I lost my girlfriend and I decided to leave that town," or, "I just miss my mom and dad and I'm tired of living in Indiana and I want to move to Ohio," or I want people to be able to personalize it, and so if you leave it generic enough, people can do that. I've always thought that's a kind of a fascinating thing about lyric writing, is to be able to let someone get in there. Because I did go back and forth about, instead of saying back to my hometown, my hometown's name is Coshocton. And I thought, no one's going to know what that word is. It's a lot like the Indian words around here, Mishawaka and things like that. There's a lot of Coshocton is a really odd-looking word and an odd-sounding word, and I thought, I'm not going to do that to my listening audience. I'm just going to leave it generic enough that they can go, "Oh yeah, I do remember moving away from home and wanting to go back there just to touch base, just to feel the ground that I stood on." And I think that's my favorite lyric, is that I'm leaving this town, I'm leaving for good, I'm going to go back to where I first stood. And I thought that's a really sweet sentiment.
Yeah. Now, I think there's something to be said for the other side of the coin too, of like Okie from Muskogee or something. You give somebody something that's so specific.
Yeah.
Because you got something you can kind of sink your teeth into, and
Sweet Home Alabama, and
Right,
that sort of
yeah.
thing. Where like, I'm from here, and I'm so proud.
Yeah. But that's a good example that everybody gets excited about Sweet Home Alabama. You don't have to be from Alabama.
Yeah.
But the specific, the love of the specific is something that reaches you whether you're from there or from somewhere else.
Yeah. That's how I ended up switching it to Ohio instead of Coshocton. So I just had to mix the lyrics up just a little bit to be able to do that. And I've been toying around with writing a whole song about my hometown. It's actually a little famous place or a little tourist trap. But originally, there used to be a series of canals that ran from Lake Erie down to the Ohio River. And my family are from Germany, and they moved over to the United States in the 1800s and found out that there were great jobs digging canals in Ohio. So that's how my ancestry got there. And just cool little stories about the history of them moving here. And the canals, have lasted, and they've renovated sections in my hometown, and you can actually go there, ride a canal boat in Coshocton, and go to historic Roscoe Village, and see the original buildings that were there in that town. One neat little story that I love: the canals would freeze over in the winter, and my grandfather worked in Coshocton, but he lived in this little town about 30 minutes north. He would ice skate down the canal to work every morning. I thought that is so cool. Who ice skates to work? My grandpa.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like maybe Coshocton has a more personal, specific song in there somewhere too.
Yep. I'm in the midst of writing a song about the three rivers that connect there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the other lyric
time.
that I had was the one that mentions the three rivers. I won't pull it up, but
how the rivers flow and where the people chant Ohio.
And even that, it's like the reference to three rivers is something that's obviously specific to a certain place.
Yeah.
But the fact that you don't know what it is leaves you with this sense of like, I wonder where that is. I wonder what he's talking about. And there's something compelling in wondering about that.
Yeah. You kind of want to draw your audience in. I really do think, but leave him wanting more.
My big temptation, I think, as a writer or songwriter is feeling like I got to tell the whole story and the whole interpretation of the whole thing as well.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Sometimes when I come to the Wild Rose Moon open mic night, and you'll listen to people singing, and sometimes I do feel like maybe, and this is artistic opinion. Everybody has an opinion, and sometimes I think some artists go into too much detail. I went down to the library and I saw Lucille, and then I pulled out Of Mice and Men, and I don't need to know that. I just need to know you're in love with Lucille at the library. I'm good.
Well, I think we're going to wrap it up there, Tom. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks
been a
for
pleasure.
having me, John. This was a lot of fun.
Maybe it seems like a deep, dark night, but follow me outside into the moonlight.
Thanks for watching the Moonlight series from the Wild Rose Moon in Plymouth, Indiana. It's brought to you by Gibson Insurance and the Gibson Foundation, Marshall County Community Foundation, and the Marshall County Tourism. If you would like to help the moon, you can become a member. Check out wildrosemoon.com, and on Facebook, you can figure out how to do that and help us out as well. Other people to help this show get going is Howard Gibbs. He helps set up the sound and everything. Ryan Meir is Behind the board, making it audible, Katie Smith, Jim Yoakum, George Schricker. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you on the next episode.